Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
This is my top 5 TV shows of 2021. It was a great year for TV. There was a lot of shows that I really enjoyed. Kind of tricky making this list, but it is what it is. This is amazing. These are great shows. I'm really happy. This is like a knockout list that I hope everybody checks out, all 5 of these shows. But these are my top 5. So none of them are bad. These are all great. I could have easily done a top 10 list. I will do some honorable mentions afterwards, just because, I couldn't. I'm only doing top 5s. But, I'll do honorable mentions afterwards, because there's going to be some that people might be surprised that aren't on my list. But let's start it off. Starting off with number 5, my 5th favorite show that came out last year in 2021 is a show produced by Taika Waititi and co-created by Sterling Harjo. It is the show Reservation Dogs. This is an FX/Hulu show. I watched them on Hulu. Some great shows coming out of FX, available on Hulu. But this one follows these group of kids living in a reservation, Native American reservation in Oklahoma. And they want to get out. They want to go to California. They want to go to, I'm sure, L.A., and leave the reservation behind. This, small town vibes, a lot of poverty. But it's a comedy. It is a comedy show. And I loved it. There are some great cameos from some great comedians like Bobby Lee, Bill Burr. Wow, what was the other guy's name? I'm going to find it. Kirk Fox is in it also. He's great in every show that he's in. But yeah, it's, so you're following these kids. Each episode kind of has a different, kind of focuses on a different one of these kids and kind of their story. You kind of see what inspired them to the tragic event that inspired them to want to get out of the reservation. But it's a great show that shows a part of culture that just doesn't get shown. The Native American living on a reservation. It is not, it's not something that you see TV shows made out of, let alone comedies. There's probably multiple dramas about that kind of life, that kind of reality. But showing the comedic side of it, I really enjoyed. I loved all of these kids. There's one of the dead Native Americans that comes back to kind of speak to one of the kids that's getting bullied. It's hilarious. Just every part of this is great. Tonally, I would say the story, it at first feels like it's only following one of the kids, but then it kind of splits off and you start seeing the other kids that are involved. So because of that, it felt a little off when it kind of changed directions, but I enjoyed that it went and kind of like fleshed out these other characters a little bit more. I thought it was just going to be like kids causing trouble in an area, and even like the ancillary characters, the other characters that surround them are all fun and interesting, and like there's a rival gang. So yeah, I really love the show. It's available on Hulu, the entire first season. This is season 1 of Reservation Dogs, so I highly recommend everybody check it out. And it's coming in at my number 5, Reservation Dogs. My number 4 favorite show of last year is probably the most brutal show from 2021. And it's a show that had a bit of controversy because of its name. Not only because of its name, but also because of the subject matter of the show. The genre, the stories that are going is very similar to another named film. But the show I'm talking about is an Amazon original, and it is entitled Them. Them is a show that I heard very few people talk about. I don't know exactly. I think it came out early in 2021, but it's brutal. It's about this black family that moves from somewhere in the South. They moved to Los Angeles. They moved to Compton in a time where Compton was just a bunch of white people. And they're the first black family, well, the second black family, but one of a few black families that live there. And it's almost like, so you're getting that time period, you're getting socially what was going on, especially between the different races, white and black, the racism that was going on. But it's told in almost like a Twilight Zone-y kind of a way where there's some supernatural stuff. It's kind of like some things. It's like takes everything and ratchets it up just a click or two. Where it's just like highly heightened. Everything like the racism slightly heightened, the everything, but also feels very real. Very real. And of course, the movie that a lot of people relate to this show is the movie Us by Jordan Peele, which is about a black family who experiences it's a horror film that has a lot of race relation type of themes to it, similar to Get Out. So in that way, the fact that it's named Them instead of Us, that it's a horror movie. It also, the show has serious, like, it's almost like Stephen King. Like if Stephen King were to do a series about racism in Compton in LA in the I want to say the 50s. It's somewhere around in that area. But then like the kind of, like the vicious bullying that happens in Stephen King movies, if you were to take that and instead of being kids being the bullies, if it were adults being the bullies because they're racist assholes, and then you ratchet it up like a couple notches, like even more than Stephen King does. Like Stephen King, the bullies in Stephen King, they will stab people. They will like cut your guts out if given the chance. Like they do like horrible things, the bad guys, the bullies in Stephen King movies. Stephen King, I guess, stories. So Them has, and I think Stephen King even commented on the show that it's one of the most terrifying things that he's ever seen. And there's going to be a second season, which I think is coming out this year, which I am very much looking forward to. I think it's going to be a different story, so I think it's going to be similar in a lot of ways to American Horror Story, where they tell another story that's, a crazy kind of related vibe. But yeah, Them, brutal. There's a scene where you see what made them want to move from these kind of the small farm area that they lived prior to moving to LA. Like you see the events that happened that made them want to move, and it's one of the most scarring things I've ever seen on TV. But also, I knew, like I know that they cut out something that was even more brutal. But I love this show. It is so good. Just to see, like, just to get an idea of what, like, hellish existence it was to try and exist in this country despite massive amounts of racism and discrimination coming, and, like, being attacked because of your race. Having to overcome like obstacles, multiple obstacles that just a normal white person would maybe have to overcome one of in their entire life. They are overcoming multiple obstacles from every angle just to survive. Amazing show. Doesn't get the credit. Like it got, I think the fact that the name of it, if they just retitled it, it would have been received a lot better, a lot differently, and I think it would have been, I think it's a show that in time will be recontextualized when it's not so close to the release of Us, where people will realize the greatness of the show, despite how brutal it is. The dad of the family, like, you want to talk about portraying panic attacks in one of the most realistic ways. Like, I love this show. despite how brutal it is, but it was like top to bottom, just knocked it out of the park. So my number 4 TV show of 2021 is Them, which you can find on Amazon Prime.
The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF, that stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show.
Moving on now to my number 3 show, which I didn't even know about. I never would have known about. This is a show based on a video game that I don't even know what the video game is. You don't have to know what the video game is. You don't even have to know what video games are to enjoy this show, which is an animated series, and that show is entitled Arcane. It is an animated series that is on Netflix based on a video game, League of Champions, which I've never played, don't know anything about, and from what I've heard, the video game's not very good, and you don't need to know anything about the video game to watch this show. Amazing animation. It's like, almost like an alternate type of a reality about like this technology that's going to help give humans abundant energy to kind of create and grow all this technology. But then you have the haves, and then you have the have-nots. You have the rich people that are controlling the government, and you have all the poor people that are trying to survive, committing crimes, doing these things, and how both groups are being manipulated by it's the story is amazing. It's also about these sisters that get have a falling out, have a separation, they break apart because of some tragedy that happens that was caused by one of them. And due to circumstances that they don't even know, like just misunderstandings, you have this split, and in that split you get almost this epic like villain character that just becomes just grows over the series, just unhinged, just like focused, amazing. Some of the most amazing fight scenes, action scenes. The animation is so good that it almost feels like I'm watching a highly stylized film. So good. It's the story is amazing. The action's amazing. The characters are great. And it's a show that does not care about killing people off. It's a tough reality that this show takes part in, but it's so good. You see these scientists that are just trying to do good for humanity, but end up being used by the haves, by the rich, by the wealthy, by the ones in charge to kind of help them attack it's great. It's got everything. It's so good. And there's going to be a second season. Apparently, this one took 5 years to make because of the animation so amazing. The story is amazing. But yeah, second season. Looking forward to that, just as I am them. But yes, my number 3 favorite TV show of 2021 is season 1 of Arcane, which you can find now on Netflix. Moving on to my second favorite show, TV show of 2021. I'm sure people could guess. It's a show that I did an episode recap of. And that show Another Netflix show, Squid Game. This show, I remember seeing it every once in a while. I go over to the Netflix thing and I see what, like, the coming soon tab. It's very, they need to have, all these streaming services need to have the coming soon tab on it, which for Netflix you can only get on certain devices. You'll be able to see the coming soon. Most of them don't have it. But it's nice to see what's happening. And the nice thing about that is you can set reminders, so when the show gets released, you get reminded, or movie, you can watch it. Squid Game was one of those. And just based on the art, I think maybe I watched like some of the trailer. I was like, what is this? It almost seemed like a new reality show from Korea about, called Squid Game, where these people compete for money. But then you realize that no, it's a fictional narrative show. And you start watching it, and despite the fact that it's a Korean, I was hooked. Super interesting characters. You have the degenerate Gi-hoon. You have all these people who are in debt, which seems to be a big theme in Korean cinema, and I would imagine Korean media in general, that being massively in debt seems to be one of the biggest hardships in South Korea. And that is no different in this show, Squid Game, where you have all of these people who are massively in debt. Massive, like millions of dollars in debt, or close to them, like just unsurmountable amounts of debt that they're never going to get out of. They try, like the only way to get out of it is to, commit crimes or to win big gambling. But they get this opportunity. They're offered this opportunity to come to this private place to play games and the person that wins all of the games play 6 games or 5 games. I forget how many games. The winner of those games gets this huge cash prize of like 40 million. It would be 40 million US. It would be, I think it's like 46 billion won. So it's just like super imaginative, super creative. The creator of it took 10 years before anybody would buy the show. Netflix finally did it, but 10 years of like molding and tweaking and maneuvering these things. It's a great show. I mean, it's one of the most popular shows in the history of Netflix, which is also amazing because it is a Korean film. It's not American speaking. It is a Korean cast, aside from some of the worst part of it is the VPs, which are American or English speaking actors, which are horrible, which is the worst part of the show, but thankfully it's just a very small part of one of the episodes. But yeah, it's just one of those shows that like just was super interesting and then knocked it out of the park, like with just characters that you fall in love with a premise that's so original, but also like messaging about how like horrible capitalism is and how like this idea of everybody's competing on a level playing field is just such bullshit. I love it. It's such a great show, and I've been recapping it episode by episode, which next week will be the last episode. But yeah, Squid Game, such a great show, and that is why it's my number 2 favorite TV show. Again, only season 1. So far, all of these have been the first season, and so far, all of these are scheduled to have a second season. And the creator of this show, which does it have the creator's name? It doesn't seem to put his name on there. But the creator of the show is in talks with Netflix for not only a second season, but also a third season. So Squid Game, I'm interested to see because there's some questions unanswered at the end of it. Definitely some open-ended stuff. Definitely leads itself into more of a story. So I'm excited if it becomes a 3-season kind of arc, 3-season story, then I'm all for it. But yeah, coming in at number 2, my second favorite show, TV show of 2021 is Squid Game. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today.
Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. My number one, my favorite show that came out in 2021 was not the first season. Despite I did love the first season of the show, and it may have been my favorite show last year. Season 1 may have been my favorite show, TV show of 2020. Possibly. I would put money on it. But coming in at number 1, Season 2 of another FX/Hulu show, Dave. Starring Little Dicky, Dave. It's got Andrew Santino is in it. It's got, I don't know. But it's a lot of cameos from a lot of musicians. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had an episode. It's one of the best shows. The first season, just hilarious comedy. Hilarious comedy about Little Dicky, who's a rapper. It follows Lil Dicky, who is an actual rapper. It's kind of a story loosely based on his life. And the first season was such a hit, the biggest thing that FX has done, that they did a second season, came out during the pandemic, obviously, was filmed during the pandemic. And the second season starts off tonally completely different. Whereas the first season was comedy. Second season was like, oh no, this is like Lil Dicky has lost all inspiration. He is like, and he's taking it out on other people around him, and it's all about his journey to redeeming himself towards the end. It's also the journey of his friends. It's also the fact that this show, that his cohort in this whole thing is as a musician, as a rapper, Gata, how Gata is almost the other half of Dave, which Gata, real name is Devonte, a.k.a. Dave. So Devonte is also Dave. And this season, by the last moment of the last episode is Lil Dicky rehearsing for the VMAs. He is going to be an act for the VMAs, and he's going to do this amazing thing, this like mind-blowing thing. And when the time comes and the performance happens, what happens in that moment made me cry. If you go back and you watch my episode where I reviewed season 2, when I described what happened at the end of the season, I started crying during the episode while podcasting, while talking about it. Emotional. It hit me in such a big way. Like, as an artist, this show speaks to me. It speaks to me for the doubt I have. It speaks to me like in the fact that like people around me may not understand what I'm trying to do. They don't like you have to believe in yourself more than other people believe in you. But also this season really expresses the importance of having people that actually do support you. And the people that do support you, you need to make sure and foster those relationships, those close relationships for people that actually are there for you and actually believe in you. And that moment at the end is like that perfect exclamation point on what it is to be a thankful, grateful person, and understanding that you are not, like, your success is not based solely on you. It is also about the people that help you out along the way.
So Dave, maybe not Dave season 2, maybe not the comedy that this first season was, but what it ended up being was something that hit me emotionally unlike anything else. Like like even watching, somebody posted the clip of the end of the last episode of season 2. I think Gata may have posted it on social media. Somebody did. And it's like, even watching that clip again makes me, they were promoting the fact that song, there's a song that ends the season. They're releasing that song, like actually releasing it for like on iTunes and stuff. So they posted the clip from the show, and even just watching the clip from the show made me choke up and cry again. So my number one favorite show of 2021 is the show that made me cry. It's a show that makes me laugh. It makes me cry. It makes me stressed out. This season it's super stressful the first few episodes. Dave is not a likable person in this season. He is not. You have to focus on the people around him. Like, it's so much about like we also see in season 2, you see like what brought Dave, like he used to work at a marketing place, and like you see like the relationships that he had before season 1, and it kind of fleshes him out a little bit more. I loved it so much. It is probably one of my favorite shows, top to bottom, season 1, season 2. As far as personal to me, it like, I'm not a rapper or anything like that, but from somebody who's trying to be an artist on some level, trying to sacrifice their life to do a thing. I mean, he goes at a completely different angle than I do. He goes at it from a marketing, he's probably the more like the better direction, the better path. He's following a better path than I am. But a lot of the frustrations and doubt and things of that nature completely resonate with me, and because of that, it's my number one. Because personally, it's like it's linked in. It's linked in to me like no other show is, and I love it. So that's my number one show, Dave, season 2, which is an FX/Hulu show. So one more time, let me go over my top 5 TV shows of 2021, starting off with number 5, Reservation Dogs, number 4, Them, number 3, Arcane, number 2, Squid Game, and my number 1 favorite TV show of 2021 is Dave. Let me know in the comments or hit me up on social media. Let me know what your favorite TV shows are of 2021. Let me do some honorable mentions. Of course, Ted Lasso was a hilarious show. You want to talk about a show that just makes you feel good. And the second season was really great. It's like really the birth of a villain. So I really did enjoy it. It almost made the list, but not quite. Obviously, Search Party. I think season 5 is a season that came out in 2021. I like season 4 better than like season 5. I'm excited, or there's one more season's coming out. I think season 6 is coming out soon. But that's just an amazing show. So I definitely an honorable mention, Search Party. It's on HBO Max. Ted Lasso is Apple TV Plus. Another Apple TV Plus show is For All Mankind. Amazing show. Season 2 came out in 2021, and I would have it. I mean, it's such an epic show. It's such an epic show, and it was tough. It could have easily made my list, and season 3, we'll see if it makes my list next year, but it's definitely an honorable mention. Amazing show, For All Mankind, Apple TV Plus. But yeah, that's it. Those are my honorable mentions. One more time, my top 5. Number 5, Reservation Dogs. Number 4 is Them. Number 3, Arcane. Number 2, Squid Game. Number 1, Dave. Let me know what you loved this year, and have a great year. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out. much!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.